almighty, Tim! Make us furries! Yeah!
Furry convention? Furry convention?
One of your favorite hobbies be oil tycoons to afford this stuff.
NANI?
6,000 euros on a furry suit? Hot damn, son.
What are we even watching?
The worst furry convention. I actually am really liking the royalty is here's like videos.
Dear to your heart, but can't let anyone else in your life know about it due to the risk of people viewing you like a walking defecation and your family
Is that the look you make when you, about furries, guys, or not?
somewhat disowning you. No, this video isn't about your War Thunder addiction. And don't worry, this is the last time I will on the War Thunder community. I pinky promise. But a lot of this community probably does play War Thunder anyway. And surprisingly, if they all disappeared, we'd probably have a shortage of military personnel, programmers, and engineers in the world. And some say this community ranges from a few 100,000 to millions. So someone you know could be a part of this.
It should be studied. What is the connection between furries and having well-paying jobs? Like, or do they just only spend all their money on furry stuff? I don't understand.
And apparently most of them reside in America. Just saying.
America. You got some splaining to do.
If you didn't drop the T, you probably wouldn't have this problem and would still have your foreskin. But this community is probably the most targeted and discriminated group on the internet. Obviously, outside of things like race, sexual preference, and gender maybe. But this is the animal...
Right, yeah. Yet fursuits are expensive. How? Exactly. So is it like, I'm going to become an engineer because I need fursuit money? Like, I don't...
cosplaying Toontown looking Conker's Bad Fur Day inspired Lola Bunny interested. Yes, that makes you part of the community. If you ever held any interest in Lola Bunny, you're a part of the community now. No ifs or buts about it, you're in denial. But this is the...
I don't know, guys. Do you like Lola Bunny? Wait, does that make you a furry?
Furry community, which has been on the internet for a while now, some saying even before the creation of things like Reddit. Furries are mainly described as anthropomorphic characters, and if you lack skill points and intelligence, it's basically animals with human characteristics. There are many classes of furries though. You've got normal furries, furries that have no fur at all.
Oh no, that's more cursed. Furless cat furry, that's insane.
And just look like those cats that are overgrown testicles. Similarly, you have scalies that are based on things like lizards and dragons. Avians, which are like birds, and for the 50th time, I'm not an avian or a furry. It's not a duck, it's not a hedgehog, it's not a beaver. You must have advanced glaucoma if you think that. It is just a cute bird I found in my wall. Anyway, you also have the lesser known fishies, the buggies or insect fairies, and the fairy femboys.
Okay, I find the buggies ones even more insane.
Many fairies express
I'm that
themselves
blind,
through
I'm
their
getting old.
personas, their own fairy avatar of sorts, which they represent through things like art or their very own fursuit, which are very expensive. Most of these people must be oil tycoons to afford this stuff, but since its conception, at least on the internet, it has grown exponentially over the years, but so has
6,000 euros on a furry suit? Hot damn, son. Someone British, tell me what that would buy you in Britland. Wait, so, we don't have a... Well, we have multiple cases, but we're talking about furries. The worst fur convention.
It's the hatred for it. Many hold a distaste for fairies, following the negative stigma surrounding it, viewing most members of the community as degenerate heathens, with many assuming people a part of this community want to do things with actual animals, which is mainly due to the actions and events surrounding more infamous fairy members, and groups like zoos, which we've talked about before, and
prison. 100 copies of Elden Ring.
Even the fairy community itself detests these people and strongly refuses association with them. It is...
To be fair, like, VTuber models, that's like high-end. Like, 6,000 is like a very high-end model, or you're getting a lot of junk done. Like, but to be fair, I realized I got a pretty good deal on my model.
Quite easy to
knew them, like I found them through
find anti-fairy sentiment on the internet, labelled anti-fairs, some wishing physical harm upon fairies. I personally judge fairies not by the fur on their skin, but by their actions. Please don't send me a pipe bomb in the mail.
It's kind of the same, like I've met some fairies. I have a friend or two that's furries, and most of them are pretty tame. Like, it's the degenerate scum, which we hate in every fandom, you know? The ones that are, like, not even quite in the fandom. They're just trying to, like, bypass their illegal hobbies into this hobby by saying, you're just as bad as me, bro. And it's like, they're not the same things at all, you know? It happens in the anime community quite a lot, too.
I know a lot of you are very capable
There's the
of doing
most degenerate scum I've ever seen. Hey, Luca, and I saw your message about playing Repo. It was 2 a.m. I was asleep.
and could probably form your own militia group at this point. But I assure you, I'm just joking around. But from my personal interactions with fairies, most of them are normal, albeit they are very enthusiastic about the topic. But from what I've seen, it's just a hobby, and they mainly just get bad rep due to that stigma. But the fairy group, as said before, has grown a lot over the years, to the point where they have
yeah, I saw the happy birthday message. Sorry, I was like not fully awake yet. Sorry. Thank you.
own events like fair cons, which thousands attend per event. And for some reason, some of them summon the 5th sin of gluttony.
The pizza on his head, though.
But fairy conventions are something I wanted to talk about today because a lot of them had their
Sorry for what? That's so cursed affectionately. I just woke up and I had to stream Luca. I'm sorry, stream comes first. I brought her upon you. You should be. Wait, did Luca bring you upon me, or did you bring Luca? Or did you bring her here and told her I was streaming?
a fair share of
Rivals. You and
controversies,
Marvel rivals.
and once again I keep getting Instagram Reels referring to the topic. How many of my videos have been inspired from Instagram Reels serving me pure slop? But I do miss the person I was before this video,
True.
mainly after finding out about the pizza party of October 2021.
Oh, no. How cursed do you think this is going to be, 1 to 10? Thanks, Emma. 13 hours? Jesus, Luca. Is this your way of saying you want me to play Marvel Rivals, bro? Thank you, little savage.
So fairy conventions are a lot like most other conventions. An overcrowded hotel or convention centre with barely any air conditioning, and the same can be said for deodorant and correct hygiene. As a matter of fact, most
Yes.
conventions, especially anime conventions, probably have their own putrid AoE effect.
Only sometimes. Yeah, 1 out of 10, guys. 111 out of 10. Rivals is fun. Okay, guys, vote. Should we play Marvel Rivals with Luca after the video? I'm playing it by ear today.
Emitting gamma radiation enough to erode the insides of
Yeah,
your
I'll
nose.
actually go get a piece of cake after this.
Most
No.
organisers actually have to remind convention
Then
goers to
look-
wear deodorant,
Loom just wants to join. That's why he just wants to play.
which is, it's something. But as said, fairy conventions are set up like many other conventions. There's panels, small events, stalls for items like art,
Okay,
even a
I
black
gotta respect the artistry. Look how well made those are.
conventions are unique in that way, where other convention black markets probably have things like naked body pillows and that's it. But fairy conventions have bad dragons, and apparently it's a hobby to collect them now. I personally don't know why you'd want to tickle your colon, but you do you. But how...
To be fair, yeah. I don't get that either. It's like wanting to have a brush with death or something. But yes, most fur cons, from what I heard, are 18 plus compared to most conventions, which are have to stay within the kid friendly.
Are fairy cons different from things like comic cons, anime cons, and brony cons? Well, obviously it's down to the fact most of the attendees are wearing fursuits.
What the fuck?
Where you would see cosplays you'd probably recognize. At a fairy convention, you probably won't recognize most characters, due to the fact most of them are their own creations and their own OCs. And there are a variety of builds. You've got the people that don't wear any suits at all, and are just there for the experience. You've got ones that only wear their heads because they can't afford the down payment for the rest of the suit. You've got the full fursuits, some that are even modified to have AC units within them. Then you've got fursuits
That's
that look like
insane.
they have a whole Abrams tank in their stomach,
AC units, really? Jesus.
and looking like Executioner Small.
What do you mean? I got some weird pips in chat. They're saying happy birthday. Hey, Molteroy, I saw you log into Warframe, doxed.
Who appear to be either fat or somewhat pregnant. These are called fat fairs, supposedly most times a form of adiophilia, which
Oh
is an
my
attraction
God.
to gaining weight. I personally don't get it. You'd probably need to refer to a professional in this subject. But there are a lot of
This is the thing. My life is over now. This is what I hate, because I like to cook for people. Tons of people joke I'm a feeder because I like to cook for people. I'm like, this is so not the same thing. That's a feeder. Someone who likes someone getting fat like that.
Furry cons that occur, once again, mostly in America. You have cons like Anthro New England, Midwinter Frolic Anthro Expo, and Fair Squared, all happening this year. There's even VR furry cons now, like Furry hosted on VRChat, which apparently has its own private server and was said to
It's always VR chat. Degeneracy always comes back around and finds VR chat, I swear.
be very well prepared with its own worlds. A lot of these conventions are non-profit and encourage donations to chosen charities for that convention. I would go so far as to say most furry conventions are fairly normal in terms of structure and events. However, some conventions have seen their
He's about to hit us with some crazy stuff.
fair share of controversies,
moose suit.
to the point where, like furries themselves, furry cons carry a negative
Moustache.
stigma surrounding them, especially from outside of the community. And to be honest, giving the benefit of the doubt of the ones I looked into, and one I thought was completely fictional and at most an urban legend, I can see why some people aren't completely sold on furry conventions.
I don't think there is any furry conventions in Australia. Probably because, as it points out statistically, America has all the furries, or most of the furries.
Even when a majority of them are nothing like any of these. But the first controversy surrounding a furry con I wanted to talk about is said urban legend. And if you're watching this video whilst eating, this is going to be a good tolerance test for your appetite, so be warned. But first, I need to warn you about something else. Something that will have your nuts.
Something for my appetite. Is this why you really told me to get my cake before? Did someone knew this was going to be fucked up about food? Who?
Quaking with excitement, something even you furries out there can enjoy. We have once again partnered with Gamersubs with their new Kaiju trend drop, which brings a new cup, apparel, and even a stuffed animal. No, there isn't any femboy cups announced by Gamersubs yet, you sick but this is a limited
really
time
bad. God damn
product,
it.
so
I'm
get
starting
it
to shout
whilst
down
you
quicker.
can. And do be warned, a lot of
Is that like a Godzilla fetish? What the fuck? Who goes and looks at Godzilla and is like, yeah, I'd bang it.
Gamersubs stock does sell out pretty fast, so it might be gone by the time you get this. Don't blame me. Recently I'm still enjoying my guacamole gamifar inspired by Russian Badger, but I have developed a taste for their new banana propaganda tub. But if you aren't completely
Does that mean it tastes like guacamole?
sold on buying a tub for yourself, they do have sample packs
I
that
looked it
are
up,
free,
and there
so
are
you
3
can find
furry
the taste
conventions in
for
Australia
you.
this
Use
year.
code ROYAL at checkout for
Damn, I would not have guessed that.
10% off your order, or just click the link in the description.
Wonder how
And going
big they
back
are.
to the video, we'll be talking about a newly discovered flavour you will not enjoy hearing about at all.
It's under the sauce.
There's no cheese on it.
It's under the sauce.
Now, as said before, the first controversy I thought was a little hoax, a little joke, a little trolling, if you will. Because I thought nobody in their right mind would do this. It's a joke I even included in
Time to go incognito mode to a furry con and see what Australian furry cons are.
my previous
I'm
videos,
eating.
and imagine my horror when I found out it was a canon event within this current timeline, and it didn't even happen too long ago. It's even that popular it has its own wiki page describing the events in detail, and disturbingly enough, there is even a video of these war crimes occurring. But what happened? So it was October 2021, COVID at the time was almost over, and the world was slowly returning back to normal, and furry cons were following that trend. The convention Biggest Little FurCon 2021, held in Nevada, was just wrapping up its own convention, which was very successful. It had plenty of attendees and raised a lot of money for charities like No Kill Shelters for Animals, and was like every other FurCon. But little did the organisers know their event would be known for something else. After the conclusion of Biggest Little FurCon, there was another party just starting. An unofficial after party for the convention, if you will. It was advertised a few days prior to the FurCon starting, with multiple tweets and even a PowerPoint presentation, and surprisingly enough, it was a pizza party of sorts. Because it wasn't a normal pizza party. First of all, there was only one pizza, and only one person from what we know was actually going to eat the pizza out of 19 attendees. in a small hotel room. Now, only one person consuming the pizza wasn't down to the fact it was like a disgusting pizza like pineapple. I still believe if you like that, you deserve to be kneecapped with salt rock shells.
I'm about to be killed. And this is about to kill me inside.
It wasn't down to the fact it was a Papa John's pizza, although this would be free advertising for Papa John's in the future. But this was intended, because only one person was going to eat it because of the ingredients, which was very unconventional at the time. These fairies were the Christopher Columbus of discovering new flavors, because the process of producing said flavor was all 19 attendees gathering around the pizza and adding their own extra topping to said pizza, that being their own lineage, their own genetic code, their own baby goo, some would say.
I had a sneaking suspicion.
On the pizza. All the attendees knew this was going to happen. An open invite to do this activity was posted on Twitter, inviting people to
someone had a pizza party to fulfill their very specific kink. Like,
come thicken the crust of their pizza. And what's worse is somebody actually ate the pizza, and there is a video to corroborate it. Obviously,
Okay, I'm just feeling like anyone who's lurking, hearing this music and hearing what's happening is just like, what the fuck?
Can't show you the video.
What am I listening to?
Some of them have their sauce squirters still out, and one has theirs in a cage for some reason. And, you know, you can actually see the human bodily fluid sitting on top of the cheese like separated oil. Now, the person that posted this and created the event, to one's
does like the wiki have the video? That's horrible.
surprise, was a fairy porn creator. Believe me, I looked at the Twitter and it is just straight up 24/7 porn, or yiffing as the fairies call it. I've never seen so many fairballs. But this historical event was in celebration of them reaching 2,000 followers on Twitter. I don't know what their celebration for 10k is going to be. Maybe a free use glory hole with burger buns. But this...
Okay. So my point is, like, he does this. He connects his name to it. So he's now known in the furry community for doing this. Why? Why would you want that?
This event itself caused a lot of backlash. First, due to what happened to the pizza afterwards, as the participants joked they left the cum pizza in the hallway for potentially others to find. But after people gave them shit for doing this, they quickly clarified they disposed of the pizza, and the whole hallway thing was part of the joke, although some people were skeptical. The next fallout was the fact this event was broadcasted all over the internet. It was spread within and outside the furry community, especially due to things like the memes that were generated from it, like
the crying Peter Parker, no!
Like the pizza being in the hallway and the pizza itself. The potential consequence of this was that people outside the community may think this is normal for fairies to do, and may assume the worst of them, buying into the stereotype that all fairies must be degenerates. Even people within the community were criticising the creator, as they also thought it would add to the negative stigma surrounding fairies. Overall, this event left a stain on the reputation of Biggest Little FairCon, at least for the year of 2021. It also caused some trouble for other events as well, as some people were making custom badges.
Yeah, honestly, I heard a lot of like hotels started like I think with the 7 videos.
Asanonymous cheered X7. He idel carrot roo.
Carrot roo. Welcome in, homie. Yeah, I heard that a lot of hotels like refused to do some furry conventions, like they won't let you book. But I heard some even banned anime ones back in the day because they got people got feral at them. So.
Referencing the event and requesting an invitation to the next one. The creator did receive their fair share of hate for this. Once again, it possibly affected the reputation of fairies as a whole, due to the fact this story reached a lot of people, and it became a whole ass meme. And the creator of it was banned from a few other fairy cons, albeit temporarily, but it didn't directly harm anyone. Except for the fact they probably didn't screen participants for STDs, which they probably should have.
Yeah.
But the next one I wanted to talk about actually did do some damage.
Lake of chlorine
What's
gas.
a furry convention?
Did I get that wrong?
Leaked there. Oh, gosh.
Okay.
So this event took place at the Midwest FurFest convention.
Did a news channel have to do it with Dash?
In
Isn't that the one that was like just a ball pit?
2014. An event that usually operates from December 5th to the 7th. A convention, once again, like every other furry convention, with around 4,500 attendees, and it was usually held in a large hotel. This year wasn't really going to stand out like any other year, or any other fairy convention, until it did, and it could have possibly led to people dying. On December 7th, the convention was going ahead, and everything seemed normal until around 12 o'clock, where people began to smell things like bleach and chlorine, some even saying it smelled like a swimming pool. Many of the event attendees and hotel staff began to complain about irritations in their eyes and breathing, so the emergency services were called. And later a hazmat team arrived to identify the cause of the smell, where it was discovered there was a broken glass container containing chlorine powder on the 9th floor stairwell. Now, chlorine powder can be
What? What? That's so weird. Hey GG, thanks for the follow.
fatal if you're exposed to it for an extended amount of time in an enclosed space with no ventilation. So the event and hotel as a whole were quickly evacuated, including people that were not even taking part in the event. Everyone was forced outside onto the street, where news reporters quickly arrived to cover the story. 19 people were hospitalized with respiratory issues relating to exposure to the chlorine, and it took until 5 AM for the chemical to be removed and the hotel properly ventilated, where they started letting people back into the hotel.
Sucks to be those 19 people, because respiratory damage from that stuff usually leaves long-lasting
The
problems.
good thing about this event was nobody died, and it's a good thing the emergency services were called when they were, limiting the amount of people exposed and harmed by the substance. Now, why was there chlorine powder at a fairy event? Well, I initially thought it was down to the cleaning staff for accidentally spilling something, but where would cleaning staff get pure chlorine to the point where it would actually kill somebody? It's like saying they had access to like Novichok or something. Well, apparently it wasn't incidental, but intentional. According to the emergency services, it appeared that somebody purposely did this. Somebody went to the convention and purposely broke a glass container, releasing the dangerous substance.
Is this like a fairy hater where the fairy hate's gone so far they're doing pipe bombs? That's insane.
But nobody knew why. Were they targeting the fairies or somebody else at the hotel? Well, even to this day, nobody knows, because nobody was caught or arrested for the crime. But one of the most controversial factors, except for people possibly dying, was the coverage of the situation by news outlets, specifically by MSNBC. Due to the fact when the newscasters were covering the event, they began laughing at their newfound discovery that were fairies.
Hospitalized at a furry convention in Illinois after what's being called an intentional leak of chlorine
What's
gas.
a furry convention?
Did I get that wrong?
Along with convention attendees into the cold night, many still dressed in their furry costumes. Hotel was
Where you going?
Contaminated.
Hey!
Guests came back.
When she was so embarrassed she had to run away. That's very relatable, honestly. Hey, really, welcome to the delinquents. Oh my god. Thanks. Hey, Skidhouse, thanks so much for the resub, homie. Oh my god. Because honestly, even if it was my job, I would be tempted to run away in embarrassment.
Skidhouse 312 just subscribed. Upgrading their cell. G-Day Dell, hope you're doing well and everyone is having an awesome day.
Birthday day.
Come
Inside
back!
at 4 AM. Police still
Come back!
the matter
Come
is
back.
a criminal
Could you
investigation.
check on Mika, see if she's okay? She's over there somewhere.
This guy must have already known what fairies are, or just has the most magnificent poker face. However, some people within the fairy community didn't like this, as you know, people could have died, and this was a serious event, but these guys were kind of just laughing at the fact that they just discovered a fairy. And some people attributed this event and the coverage of it to how much people hate fairies overall, or just don't understand them. Also, the event organizers didn't offer a refund at all. However, the next convention...
Of course. Jesus, honestly... Okay. I understand laughing about it. Honestly, yeah, it's 19 people got hurt, but like, if you found out what fairies are for the first time live on television, I don't know if you could keep it together.
Although it was significantly less dangerous than the one I just mentioned, it didn't show the fairy community in the best light.
Not even the carrion eaters are interested in your radiated corpse.
Rainfurrest Con in 2015 was a con where the furry community looked like absolute fiends, mainly due to their shenanigans, said shenanigans that were conducted like they were trained in guerrilla warfare, with how much damage they caused from this, which may have contributed to the fact that said con was never hosted again and was suspended indefinitely. So Rainfurrest Con 2015 was a furry convention held in a Hilton hotel near the Seattle's
I get concerned when you guys are like, here we go, we're at it. It's like, it makes me worried.
SeaTac Airport in Washington. Having stayed in a Hilton hotel myself, it is definitely RNG. Some Hiltons will be the best stay of your life, and some others you would think you were staying at a cheap motel with copious amounts of pubic hairs and semen stains. There is no in between. But that year the
Why? Thanks, Lenny, for the follow. Welcome in.
theme was swords and sorcery, and in the opening ceremony, in conjunction with the theme, the organisers dispelled the rumour that the FairCon was under an evil curse.
I am absolutely sure there is no truth to the rumour that Rainfurrest is under an evil curse.
Little did they know it was under an evil curse, as all of the 7 sins were about to be committed. Within the few days the event was active, there were a lot of things that happened.
Okay, why did they think it was cursed though?
And at this event, but to save your time, so you can go back to whatever mundane activities you had to do today, here's a short list of what happened. Somebody purposely flooded a public toilet within the hotel by messing with the screws that kept it secure, and even flooded the basement. They broke one of the elevators of the hotel. They threw multiple towels into a hot tub and blocked the main hot tub pipe, so it was permanently damaged and required repairs. There were reports of filled diapers being shoved into toilets and left on top of cars, some saying the smell was terrible. People were going out in public in adult diapers and BDSM gear. Someone allegedly shat in the pool and left a floating log in it. Smoke detectors were removed from some rooms, obviously so they could smoke within their own room. Litter and fairy stickers were left all around the hotel, some showing NSFW fairy yiffing or something. There were reports of drug dealing, apparent drug overdoses, and copious amounts of alcohol consumption. Some attendees were said to be pissing on the beds, and most rooms were severely damaged or required a lot of cleaning. That is just a short list, by the way. This event was an absolute disaster.
Why do this, like, especially, like, don't you have to put your credit card down? Like, they would have had to pay for this bullshit. Like, whoever had the room in their name.
Or was it? Now, in recent years, there have been a lot of videos about this convention, many saying the same things I just said, although I did miss the part where they apparently drilled a glory hole in the toilet. That would have been my favourite part to cover. But there is a lot of contention to some of the claims made.
Of course they did.
First, some of the people that supposedly attended it claim there has been a lot of misinformation spread about the con, intentionally by some fairies that do this at other cons.
You'll notice that in a lot of, let's say, videos and other places that have covered Rainfurrest, you'll notice that there's one Twitter account that shows up multiple times that that was somehow able to catch and document so many of these things that were happening that they just so happened to be right in front of. A Twitter user by the name of just made a bunch of shit up.
I tried looking for the Twitter user they were talking about, but they apparently don't exist anymore, at least when I tried. Although there was a big drug problem at the event, which even the organisers years later admitted to.
It lists a bunch of bullet points about things that they had a problem with. So
I'm curious, how do you end up with a drug problem at events? Like I'm curious. Like, don't they usually have security that like kick people out, like when they do stuff like that? Rich, so you know some of them are entitled brats who live their whole lives around by maids. Maybe that could be a point.
Let's start with, if there is 10, I don't know that there's 10, I think there might be more or less. Only 2 of those bullet points did not talk about drugs. So, in my mind, drugs was the major problem.
Second, events like the diapers and BDSM wear in public were supposedly outside a fairy kink festival, so they weren't just walking around all day like this. I don't know if that's positive PR or negative PR, but yep, okay. But it was said that some of the claims were created by trolls within the community.
At ours, there was one bathroom that got flooded, and some people spread the rumor or said that it was sabotage, and other people just said it was a big guy sitting on the toilet and it broke. So yeah, it's a 50-50, who knows. Vandalism was like a very minor part. Never in the entire duration of us being at Rainfurrest did the hotel ever approach us about paying for any damages to public spaces. Vandalism was not talked about in that letter.
But there definitely was.
Yeah, and even if it seems like most of the damage was done in the hotel rooms, which isn't the conventions problem. Like, yeah, they're the con goers, but if it didn't happen in the convention, they can't really control it, right?
Was a drug problem, and the event did eventually get shut down.
But other things that were talked about were things like 2,000 nitrous oxide cartridges just left there. 2 drug overdoses that required ambulances. The quote-unquote week-long party. So, a drug arrest in the adjacent parking lot, a person that police believed has ties to the Rainfurrest group. So again, and that was a drug dealing arrest. So this is sort of where it got a bit extreme for Rainfurrest. Yeah, Rainfurrest volunteer staff member was reported to have sexually assaulted a female. The responding sheriff charged the man. Can't get too much into what happened. It happened in a public space. So we called the police as soon as we found out. We called the hotel in as soon as we found out. The sheriff came over. He was handcuffed, brought to the car, and then unhandcuffed and let go. I don't know what the status of any charges are. It's, a guest room smoke detector was tampered with and discarded in a guest corridor. Yep. And that is, unfortunately, one that is very serious.
And allegedly some people within the community were sending this information to any hotel and convention they were looking at for the next event, so they just couldn't find a place for the next convention or to move this convention, so they just cancelled it.
Point where we have
honestly would have renamed, but I find that crazy. If you are a con goer and you like to go, why would you send it away around, like cucking your own thing, or do they mean more haters did it? Like to the birthday
we're
wishes.
Try to find a new venue. We go around. We try to find a bunch of new venues. Couldn't find anything in the local area. It seemed strange, almost as if like they were being talked to. And so then we go to Spokane, and that's when we find out for sure that there is a furry out there who is sending letters to every potential venue for Rainfurrest.
But that is the other side of the story, so to speak. I personally wasn't there.
Maybe they were banned or something. Watching Sister Leveling. Oh yeah. I watched the Sister Leveling when they finished like parts of it. It's a lot of fun. Hey honey, thanks for the follow. Welcome to the Delinquents. I've just done a big spam amount of anime to be posting, so we'll be getting a lot of it. Lots of anime coming.
I was a little spam cell playing Call of Duty Black Ops 3 at the time, but I would have loved if that glory hole story was true. It would have been so funny. Because like, how does a glory hole at a fairy convention work? Like, is there a flap on the front, or does the fair just get stuck in there? It's a conundrum. So in conclusion, these were some of the more notable fairy conventions that may have generated the negative stigma surrounding fairies and fairy cons. I don't think all fairy cons are like this, but from what I have seen, most fairy conventions are normal. Although I've never taken part in it because, once again,
buddy.
Not a part of that community. But I think
I believe him. Do you believe him? Hey, Big King, thanks for the follow. Welcome to the Delinquents. Thanks for the head pat spice.
Content creators that have actually investigated fairy cons in person discover pretty quickly there's nothing nefarious happening at most of these events, and in some cases they end up looking like the weird ones.
Bring it on me. Almighty Tim, make us furries! Yeah!
Fairies, as always, still have a negative stigma around them, some saying they're all degenerates due to some members of the community, but hey, if that was true, it's also true that every Hearts of Iron player is a femboy. Also, do not deposit your seed onto consumable items for the love of God, even if you're bulking and need that protein boost. Just don't do it. But yeah, that's all I had to say, and bye-bye.
So cursed. Oh, Jesus. You know, it was funny, but was it more cursed than funny? I don't know. Probably.